The three Republican candidates for governor offered three starkly different choices for voters as they all took the debate stage for the only time in this race on 9 News Tonight. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Christensen.
And I'm Phil Lipoff. The frontrunner, ministry leader Victor Marx, deflected questions about his qualifications to be governor, as his two opponents also said he doesn't have the character to be governor.
Our Kyle Clark moderated the debate at the University of Denver. Kyle, some strong words used to describe Victor Marx tonight.
Victor Marx's opponents, State Senator Barb Kirkmeyer and State Rep Scott Bottoms, described Marx tonight as a con man, a liar, and a fraud. They predicted disaster for other Republicans on the ballot if he's the nominee for governor. And they challenged the self-described high-risk missionary's false claims about rescuing more than 45,000 women and children overseas in more than 100 rescue missions. And they raised concerns about his open boasts of violence. Mr. Bottoms, you have described Mr. Marx as a con man.
Yeah, I stand by that. I also said he was corrupt, and I also said he lies, and he lied to me personally quite a few times. And so I stand by that. I can't put somebody like that any more than I can put a Democrat into the governor's seat. He conned my church. I'm not okay with that, and I'm going to stand against that 100%.
How specifically did he con your church?
He came and told me that he rescued, the term he used was rescued, not gave teddy bears to, but he rescued 45,000 people in over 100 situations, 30 countries. And that was a lie.
Mr. Bottoms, thank you. Mr. Marx, your response.
You're mean. You know, this is the same rhetoric of someone who's desperate, who's already lost. And the things that he says, I can just say this: accusations without evidence is nothing more than gossip or a lie.
But the reason I have said that I will not support Mr. Marx is because, one, I mean, he is unqualified, but that's not really the reason. It's because he's unfit. By his own words, he has said he's unfit. He talks about homicidal and suicidal tendencies. Makes me a little worried about, being in rooms with him, that quite frankly. He's a fraud. He makes up these tall tales, these tall stories, and I just don't believe them. And even when you have asked him these questions directly, he just doesn't answer them.
Marx, who has described his two opponents as quote-unquote inconsequential, said tonight that they're just sore losers. And he said that voters who have questions about his big claims about his lifetime achievements should consult his promotional materials from his missionary work. Now, when it comes to policy and governing Colorado, these three conservative Republicans don't disagree on a lot, but they do differ greatly on approach to policy. State Senator Kirkmeyer delved into details based on her decades of experience in governance in Colorado. State Rep Scott Bottoms peppered his policy positions with off-the-wall claims that he didn't attempt to provide evidence for. And Victor Marx, he often just dispensed with the details of policy entirely and relied on his folksy charm.
Kyle, as you point out, it's an uphill battle for any Republican looking for that office in this state. But I'm wondering twofold. Do you think Republican voters who were watching tonight got a good sense of who each of these people are, each of these candidates? And do you think either any of them moved the needle in any direction?
I think that voters watching tonight, or who go and watch the entire debate on 9news.com or on the next YouTube channel, get a very, very good idea who these three candidates are, right? This was vintage Victor Marx. This was classic Barbara Kirkmeyer, and this was exactly who Scott Bottoms is. You got a very clear idea. I don't know if it moves anybody out of their respective camps because these three candidates are so different in their approach. It's tough for me to picture a Republican voter saying, oh yeah, I love how Barb Kirkmeyer goes deep into the details and has tons of governing experience, but then tonight being like, but I really thought that Victor Marx was charming, right? You like one thing or you like the other, or you like Scott Bottoms' ultra MAGA approach. I don't know how many people cross teams tonight.
It was important, though, to see them all three together because we may not see that happen again. I mean, we have Victor Marx's interview last week, but they have not debated together until tonight.
They have not. And I'll be honest with you, what I saw on that stage tonight was the type of contempt between candidates that I don't know that I've seen since 2016, when Donald Trump stormed onto the Republican stage and was up there with a bunch of people with established histories in politics who looked over and said, how in the world are we losing to that guy, right? Mm-hmm. Victor Marx has some of that Donald Trump outsider, here I come to save the day, and he's caught fire with Colorado Republicans in terms of fundraising and so forth, and you could tell that Scott Bottoms and Barb Kirkmeyer have zero respect for that man.
There was no doubt about that.
That was pretty clear.
That was very clear. All right, thank you, Kyle.
And on Thursday, it will be the Democrats' turn to debate. You will hear from Senator Michael Bennet, Attorney General Phil Weiser, as they work to convince voters they should be the Democrat candidate for governor. The hour-long debate will air on 9 News starting at 6 p.m., live again from the University of Denver campus.
The recent thunderstorms that we've been seeing are hanging around a bit longer. We saw another round today, and there's a chance for even more tomorrow before warmer, drier conditions move in to the end of the week. But Kathy, for a minute, I was like, oh boy, do we get hail 2 days in a row?
It is June, it's our severe weather month, and we have to be prepared for thunderstorms almost every afternoon, and severe weather is likely, as this month is the peak for severe weather in Colorado. We missed out on the heavy hail today. There were some areas that saw rain, thunder, lightning. Temperatures are still really comfortable out there in the 60s and 70s. The dew point, the measure of that moisture in the atmosphere, we've been looking at 50s, and that is a really high water content for Colorado. East to southeast winds continue to pull that moisture in at the surface, and we still have some thunderstorms that are kind of picking up in strength in the foothill areas and may make it into areas like Highlands Ranch, Castle Rock, and Larkspur. Haven't held together really well, but Futurecast does show that some of these might have some pea-sized hail in them, a brief heavy downpour, or a little thunder and lightning. We're going to do this all over again tomorrow. Temperatures are going to slide into the 50s tonight, but will top out warmer tomorrow. We have a level 1 out of 5 severe weather threat for parts of eastern Colorado. And then we're going to turn off the moisture and get ready for an early preview of summer. We'll talk about that extended forecast that's coming up.
We're following breaking news of 2 different water rescues. We begin in Boulder County. The sheriff's office says a 4-year-old boy was swept away in the St. Vrain Creek in Boulder Canyon. Emergency crews eventually found the boy in the water. He was rushed to the hospital where he's in critical condition. And now to Larimer County. Poudre Fire says crews rescued 1 person from the canal along North County Road 19 near Highway 287. That person also taken to the hospital in critical condition. We don't know how old that person is. We'll keep you updated on both situations on air and online at 9news.com.
Here's a follow-up on a story we brought to you a while ago now. The intersection of Bellevue Avenue and Franklin Street has been a real huge talking point for people in Cherry Hills Village and Greenwood Village. It's because a married couple died there separately, nearly 2 years apart.
And while some have pushed for a traffic light in the months since, a new study found one isn't warranted. 9 News reporter Janelle Finch is outside of Cherry Hills Village City Hall with how advocates are feeling tonight. Janelle.
Kim, Phil, today is 3 months since Jerry Goldberg died in a crash at Bellevue and Franklin, and Saturday marked 2 years since his wife Andy was running and hit and killed in that same intersection. Despite these 2 tragedies, third-party consultants hired by Cherry Hills Village say that a traffic light isn't warranted. Tens of thousands of cars can pass through Bellevue Avenue and Franklin Street in a day. But just 2 drivers separated by 2 years were linked to too many deaths.
It hurts me, and I don't want that to happen to anyone else.
Jerry Presley was a close friend of Jerry and Andy Goldberg. Andy died in 2024 while out on a run when a driver hit and killed her. After her death, her husband Jerry worked to bring a traffic light to the intersection. He died in a 2-car crash in March at the same intersection.
I'm continuing on without him, and it's hard. But I feel like I have an obligation to honor both Jerry and Andy. And that's why I am doing this.
Presley picked up the push for a traffic light, but its implementation isn't up to him.
Right now, we're at the point where it's up to the city council.
Everyone in the audience, everyone up here on the dais, all of our staff, is united by a deep commitment to the safety of our community, and that's why we're all here.
Cherry Hills Village hired WSB Design and Consulting LLC to collect traffic data. WSB found traffic and pedestrian volumes didn't meet traffic light criteria.
Just because a signal is not warranted under this does not mean there's no concerns at this intersection.
Yeah,
Presley hopes it doesn't take more tragedy to light the issues of the intersection.
that's what I think about when I think about this intersection is the danger, is the loss of life, and I don't want that to occur again.
CDOT is quoted in the report saying that it will look into all possible options for this intersection, including signals, in order to make it safer. It will also consult both cities involved in the matter. Cherry Hills Village says that they will actively participate in discussions with the state as they come forth. Live from Cherry Hills Village, Janelle Finch, 9 News.
Janelle, thank you. The Anti-Defamation League is condemning a social media post by a group claiming to be made up of students at CU Boulder.
It applauds the man convicted of carrying out the anti-Semitic firebombing attack on the Pearl Street Mall. 9 News reporter Spencer Soysher joins us. And Spencer, CU stripped the group of its recognized status last year. So can they do anything about it now?
That's what we asked the First Amendment attorney tonight, who said no matter how repulsive or anti-Semitic this post is, because CU's a public university, this group's speech is protected, and CU can't do much unless the group's actions put people in imminent danger. 1 year to the day since the anti-Semitic firebombing attack in Boulder, an organization that says it's made up of CU Boulder students put out a social media post glorifying the attacker.
I felt sick to my stomach. I felt physically revolted by the post.
Boulder Students for Justice in Palestine wrote that the attack that killed 82-year-old Karen Diamond and injured more than a dozen people in Boulder was, quote, a case of chickens coming home to roost. That the attacker hurling Molotov cocktails at the Run for Their Lives walkers was the, quote, only sane response available to a rational human being, and called for the attacker to be released from prison.
That's not only disgusting, it's morally reprehensible.
Jeremy Shaver of the Anti-Defamation League wants CU to speak up and say this is not okay, and to look and see if SJP's post violates the student code of conduct.
But even if it doesn't, it's still important for the university to speak up and say this is not an expression of our values as a university.
That's what CU is doing. CU said it respects the First Amendment, but that, quote, glorification of violence is abhorrent and does not reflect the University of Colorado Boulder's values, and said the post has been, quote, reported to the appropriate campus offices for further review. CU stripped SJP of its recognized student organization status in 2024. But can the university do anything else about it?
The answer is no, there really is not.
First Amendment attorney David Lane says because CU is a public school, the university can't suspend or discipline the students for speech unless it creates a disruption so large CU would stop functioning or it poses an imminent threat to health and safety.
This is a private posting by private people, and they have a First Amendment right to post whatever horrific things they want to post.
The ADL said it reached out to CU to express its concerns about the post. The SJP group did not respond to my request for comment. Spencer Soysher, 9 News.